Now, I know all of you are great fans of Hokusai, so you're going to love this. If you need a picture for your D&D character, an avatar to troll strangers with on the internet, or something a little bit racy for the bathroom, then go to jam.uwu.ai, great website name, and order a unique piece of traditional Japanese art, or even something saintly. There are those in the world whose brains work. Their nerves fire off and connections are forged and problems are solved. They are logical and ordered. They come to gaming because of this. Their brains are wired to dissect systems and unravel puzzles. Score tracks are simply ladders to climb. Then there's me. I really have no bloody idea why I'm into games at all. I look at a board and its arranged components and they all swim into one giant soup of incomprehension. I shouldn't really be hosting this video as 2 + 2 gives me pause, but I'm going to try and highlight some games that may trouble people with brains that actually function. And if you like standing up from the table, your vision blurred and smoke rising from your scalp, these games might just be for you. A brain melt doesn't always come from a rulebook that's as thick as Infinite Jest. Sometimes peril can be enough to make you slam on your cognitive brakes. Pax Permea is a conflict game with rules that seem almost willfully simple, but it's within the open space that these rules provide that the danger lurks. Players feel like they're that bloke who walked between the Twin Towers on trapeze wire, the smallest delay, changing allegiance one turn too late, or letting one of your opponent's spies linger too long on one of your cards, and your game can fall apart. This is a game in which everyone has their daggers out at all times, and negotiating this dangerous road requires real thought. There is so much game squeezed out of so few rules here, and the game is propelled by the players around the table to such an extent that every turn is full of self-doubt and self-recrimination. This means that you have to labour over every turn, and that can transform your brain to mush. You just want your opponents to get on with it and destroy you, because then, at least, it relieves the tension. Try explaining the rules to this one, even if you know it well. It is so counterintuitive that even explaining the rules melts your brain, let alone understanding them. Then, once you have a tenuous grasp on how the game functions, you have to try and play it. There is no game that has such a large game box size to play depth ratio as Matinee. Each card has a unique power that is potentially game breaking, but you have to use some cards to get some kind of engine going. So throwing away something that seems incredible is harrowing but necessary every turn. This game revels in the paralysis of choice and shows that miniatures and funky pieces are just a sign of our acquisitive decadence. At first, the game melts your brain because it seems so opaque, but after a couple of turns, it opens itself to you and bamboozles you with obscene combos and gargantuan future turns. But how to realise them? You'll find yourself staring at your hand, the pictures on the cards blurring into the text as you try and click through every possible permutation and possibility. But eventually, if you have time, a light will go off and you'll lay a couple of cards and fireworks will explode in your mind. And this is why everyone thinks that Carl Chuddock is amazing. This is supposed to be a light splotter game. What a load of shite. Sometimes it feels that they are the kings of being deliberately obtuse, and I'm sure there will be some people who think this game is a doddle, but if, like me, you have the spatial reasoning of a sea cucumber, this game will result in bald patches from all the head scratching you'll be doing. I've played this game a number of times and even won it once, and at no point have I had the faintest idea what I was doing, and the sighs and recriminations that came from the other side of the table on the day I crawled across the finishing line in first place made that play all the more worth it. Still, I didn't become a town planner for a reason, and having to sort out optimum paths and efficient routes turns my face red and makes my heart beat, and before I know it, all of the blood vessels in my eyes have exploded. You may be thinking that I'm going to talk about the moving the stones around the bowls bit and how that can pull the brakes on your cognition. But that isn't the reason that I've put this game in here. It is because this game is a stark reminder to me that no matter how much I adore games, I am truly awful at them and they will always melt my brain. This was the third or fourth game I bought, and the first time I dropped it onto the table was with me and 3 computer programmers. My substandard machinery, fed on a diet of movies, booze and prancing about, was no match for people who spent the majority of their time picking apart systems and putting them together again. As I struggled, my ability to make cogent decisions waning, they planned and sorted and leapt up the score track, leaving my poor marker languishing in the rear. It will be no surprise to know that I finished more last than anyone has ever finished last before. Still, I got back on the horse and continue to be terrible at games to this day. It wasn't just my brain that melted in that fateful evening. It was a little bit of my ego too. This is another one that squeezes so much game out of so few cards. It is amazing how wide the decision field is in which you plant your trees. This is an audacious piece of game design that is at turns brutal, mean and deeply baffling. What you do on your turns is so simple. You draw 2 cards, you play one and discard a card from your hand, and yet, from that limited palette of actions, the ramifications of your decisions branch off into innumerable potential pitfalls or successes. The import that accompanies every card lay leaves you staring at your hand, wondering which to play and which to throw, and as they all have the possibility of being great for you or great for your opponent, and there is no greater disappointment in gaming than handing the bastard across the table the one piece they need to complete their puzzle, you just go, "Gah!" So there we are. 5 games that turn my already pliable cerebrum into aspic. Now, you may disagree with me or have suggestions of your own, and if you do, don't be afraid to pop them in the comments below. Oh, and if you subscribe, imagine the smile on my little face and imagine the service you'll be doing to the whole community. Thank you for watching.